Excuse me. Sorry. God damn. That entrance video is just so mellow. It just makes me feel so warm and cozy. And we are back for another episode of the Smells Like Hope podcast, where we take an honest, hard look at drug addiction, alcoholism, being codependent, and then we end it with messages of hope because that's what we all need sometimes. Just a little bit of fucking hope, man. Anyway, last week we had my brother from the same pit of darkness, man. We're going to bring back our WWF, WCW professional wrestling buddy, Maxx Payne, who's going to open up a little bit more with us this week. Hey, Princess.
Good afternoon.
So here we are, another episode of Smells Like Hope, number 2. And when we left off last time, you were about ready to get into some shit. And I was like, whoop, we had to put the brakes on. We have a time limit. Now here we are back this week. Give it round 2. So who were you going to talk about?
So, this is really struck me personally. And it's funny, Rob, because I didn't even think about it. It's so, sometimes things are so personal, you almost put them out of your mind. But I had a brother, and, he started down this pathway, and he was such a fucking good liar that I, being, a fucking addict and junkie at the time, I didn't even see the signs. It's what's so fucking scary is I did not even see the signs. So he started off, it all started when we were sitting at my brother's house in Northern California. This brother had this great house. Another brother had this great house in the heart of the Emerald Triangle in a place called Neyland, California, just outside of Eureka. And we were all there, and he was sitting on my brother's motorcycle. The fucking motor, he wasn't even driving it. It was a big Harley. Wasn't even driving it. It fucking tipped over and broke his ankle.
Oh, shit.
Right there. We're just fucking sitting there bullshitting. All of a sudden, this fucking Harley tips over and fucking broke my brother's ankle.
Damn.
So he went to the doctor. I mean, fuck, that's just normal shit, right? Now, 10 years later, I'm talking to my brother one day, and he's working his job in Salt Lake City, and he was a maintenance guy. He's, like we were just laughing before we got on the air about, we wish we lived closer because I can fucking fix about anything. And, I got that from my family. I got it from this brother. This brother taught me how to be a mechanic, and he calls me one day and he said, dude, I just fell off a ladder at work and broke both my wrists.
God damn.
And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I just fell off a ladder and broke both my wrists. And I said, well, fuck, I'll be right there. So I went to his house, and fucking sure enough, he's all casted up and shit, and I'm sure he did, was eating pain pills in front of me, but I didn't think anything about it because, he's my brother, and, my brothers all know I'm an addict. So they know they don't have to hide shit from me. Right. That's the funny part about addicts, even no matter how close they are to you, it's funny. They still feel like they got to work you, that's the part of this story that's so devastating is, here he is, he's eating pain pills, and I didn't think anything of it really because he fell off a ladder, right? Broke his fucking wrists. So now 2 or 3 years go by, calls me on the phone one day and he says, bro, I just dropped a motor on my little finger. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I just dropped a motor on my little finger and they're going to have to amputate it. I said, what the fuck? I'll be right there. Right. So I go to the hospital and fucking now he drops a fucking motor on his little finger. And it's like, wow. And for a while, this is during a time where I became estranged from my brother because my ex-wife decided she was going to carry out a vendetta against me, even with my brothers and my family. And she had done her unequivocal best to turn my brothers against me, which at that moment in time, again, what do you do, right? And so finally we got back together. I'll fucking bury the hatchet. Let's move on, brothers. We're still fucking brothers. So him and his wife, I was managing a senior retirement apartment community in San Diego, California. And he comes there, he sort of is, a fix to what was going on. And at the time, I was heavy into a pain management doctor because we both know this is part of the deal. It's like we were talking about last week. It's like eating. How the fuck do you get through the pain and not manage it and not be a total? How do you do it without being that extreme motherfucker that every day you're out there seeking? How can you do it? Can you just take as prescribed? So I went to a pain management doctor, and I was managing my opioids at the time. And I thought my brother was just coming to see me and hang out with me. I thought, wow, fucking how great. He brought his wife, and we had this really cool spare apartment upstairs from where we lived. Brother comes there, and my wife goes home. We literally worked 36 steps away from where we lived. We lived right outside the office. Our apartment was, and this apartment that I gave to them was just upstairs, right? So, they're hanging out during the fucking day. And my wife goes home to do something, and she comes back and she goes, wow, I just caught your brother's wife going through the pill cabinet.
Oh.
I went, what? She goes, yeah, I went home. Your brother's laying on the couch. And I walked in the house, and I didn't even think to ask where Debbie was. And all of a sudden, here she comes out from behind the door where she thinks the pills are. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking ribbing me, right? I mean, I'm crushed now, because now I'm thinking the only fucking reason he came to see me is because he knows I have opioids. And is that the only reason he's there, is to bring his wife there and steal my fucking drugs?
So she was using too?
Yeah, she was using too. Well, I found out that posthumously, right? I didn't know it then, but she's fucking all up in the guts of these motherfuckers too. And so just when you think this story can be bad enough, right, Rob? Just when you think, okay, wow, this is some fucked up.
There's always worse, yeah.
Oh, I know, right? All of a sudden, one fucking day, so my middle brother, who was an alcoholic and drug addict as well, sells this brother, my brother Donald, sells him a Harley, fucking Road King, beautiful red Road King, and he bought a new one, so he sold this one to my brother. One day, the fucking phone rings. I'm still in California, and the fucking phone rings. It's my middle brother. He goes, hey, Daryl, Donald's in the hospital. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he just crashed the fucking Road King. And I'm going, yeah, you're fucking kidding me. He goes, no, he was getting on the freeway on ramp and he fucking crashed the Road King. I'm like, oh my God. So I couldn't just run home. At the time I was working, and I couldn't just drop everything I was doing to go home. And luckily, because my other brother was there, I knew he was being taken care of. But I talked to him on the phone when I could, and he was in the hospital for like fucking 2 weeks. He almost died. Had fucking embolism in his lung. They had to fucking do all kinds of shit and saved him, and they managed to keep him alive. And he comes out of it. And he calls me on the phone one day, and he's talking to me. And even now, I feel so guilty because I didn't realize the call for fucking help. I didn't realize what he was calling to ask me was, and I should have read the signs, but at the time, one of the things, if you take opioids on a consistent basis, you got to deal with constipation. That's why there's so many constipation drugs on television. Most people don't realize that, but the biggest reason for all the constipation drugs that are advertised on TV and the fucking fiber shit, that's all because the amount of opioids this country uses. And if you don't fucking do something about it, it can be
Yeah.
deadly, right? So my wife, God bless her, she's so amazing. She had read an article about oatmeal, and so we every morning to start the ritual of the day, we ate this great oatmeal. And so I was telling my brother about it, and he fucking got mad. He goes, "Fuck, you're acting like I'm an addict." I said, "I didn't say that at all. I'm just telling you, because I started asking him questions. Are you dealing with fucking, are you dealing with constipation, or And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, try this, right? Try this, just being a helpful brother, not even honestly still not fucking seeing the writing on the fucking wall, right?" And
Even though he just confessed.
even though he just confessed, yeah, and I'm fucking, yeah, I'm just because he just, because you don't realize the level of deception he was willing to go through to literally, like I said, to drive to California to see if he could steal fucking pain pills from me.
Is it possible that you did see it, but you were just in denial?
Looking back in retrospect, I guess that's probably my protectionism of myself, Rob,
Mm.
because in the end, he calls me one day and he goes, "Wow, the doctor finally fucking did it, man. He gave me fentanyl liquid, man, and fucking I finally
Whoa.
feel like I'm in a place where, I can now manage my fucking pain." And I said, "Donald," I said, "Dude," and that's when it hit me, right? That's when I'm going, this motherfucker's crying for help. And I started saying to him, "Look, man, you have a problem. This shit's gonna get you. You can't just keep getting stronger and stronger fucking doses of opiates, and now they're giving you fucking liquid, which means you're in complete control over your dosage at a level you've never, and it's not just opioids, it's fucking fentanyl,
It's Fenny, yeah.
you know." So he says no, and then gets mad at me, all the typical fucking reactions of of a
Yeah.
druggie. And 2 days later, I get a call from him, or so I think, and it's his fucking wife. And she says, "Hey, Donald died an hour ago."
You just went to town on it?
Yeah. But I honestly believe, Rob, that was, forgive me because I'm still fucking mad at him. I think it was his pussy way out. I'm so mad at my brother because I honestly believe that, he knew, all the guys we've known, if you're playing that fucking game, you're riding the edge of the lightning bolt. And you go too far, and that's one of those, you can smoke fucking weed all goddamn day and you don't die. It's just, there's certain drugs you can do it. This Opioids are one of the real fucking deadly games. And I think,
Wait, well, Max, let me pose you a different outlook on this then. Back when this was happening, the with the people just weren't as aware, or it wasn't being publicized to everybody how deadly opiates, and especially fentanyl are. And your average person just has no idea what the strength of fentanyl actually is. You have people hundreds of times every day across this country who didn't take the pussy way out. They just took too big of a dose of something that had too much fentanyl in it, and it put them out that quick.
yeah.
So, I mean, to say maybe that was his pussy way out, I feel like it probably is more realistic that he just wasn't experienced with fentanyl yet.
Yeah, you know, and I've talked to his son about this, and we've had some pretty major discussions about it. And I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to fucking land on the side of you're right, you know. But the problem, what I beat myself up for on a daily basis was after that, where he broke his ankle in California fucking 25 years ago, and they prescribed him a shitload of fucking opioids. And then to look at all of the shit that happened after that, because I'm the kind of guy, I wouldn't have hesitated a second to really fucking confront him hardcore, you know. Every single one of those incidents I am telling you about, including the Harley crash, because the way he crashed, I really think he had it. That's why I'm telling you the story like this, is because even the Harley crash at the end, I think he did it on purpose to
You
get
think he
fucking pain
dumped
pills.
some more pills? Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say about the getting the finger cut off this. Well, I can sacrifice the pinky tip. Bam, and he dropped the motor on it for the drugs.
And that's exactly what I fucking all of a sudden, when she said he's dead, and I knew, you know, at that time there were the commercials were really hitting, where the chick fucking, remember the commercial where she fucking slams into a dumpster to go get, you know, so she can fucking go to the hospital and get
Pills, yeah.
opioids, you know.
Mm,
All of a sudden, I know my brother. He's a fucking good mechanic. And the finger that he lost was one that wouldn't matter. It wouldn't stop him
right.
from fucking being a mechanic the rest of his life. It wouldn't stop him from living a normal life. And when he fell off the ladder at work, you know, you know, from that point forward, everything that happened in his life to him physically, I realized was all a pathway
Yeah.
to get opioids. And I
Once
was
you're hooked, you're hooked forever.
right.
You have to want to not want it.
Yeah. And he was just one of those guys who, you know, he was a it's so funny to say this. He was staunch LDS. He was a staunch Mormon. So what he was doing was okay. You know, it's not like a guy I'm fucking sitting on the street fucking nailing heroin, you know. You know, every fucking drug that passed through over his tongue was fucking given to him by a doctor. So, you know, that's okay. You know, that part of it's okay. And I was so embarrassed of myself that I hadn't woken up and really fucking just drove to Utah and said to him, dude, you need help now. You
Would
are
it have worked?
fucked. No. No, and that's the sad part. That's what really hurts, is because I I know for a fact it wouldn't have made one fucking difference, because I know my brother, and he didn't, you know, every time I would try to even talk to him about this, which was part of the reason that I did give up, is it was always me, you know, it traditional fucking, well, what about you, motherfucker? You know, it always went down that road whenever and I would say to him, that's the reason I fucking can talk to you, you fucking dickhead, is because I do know what the fuck I'm talking about here. You know, I have to battle it every fucking day, but I hadn't put together the accident shit until after he died. That formula didn't present itself till I went, the light bulb popped on, and I went, you've got to be fucking ribbing me. The
Well, you know,
little finger's what did it.
it just speaks to the level of denial the
Yeah.
family is when it comes. I mean, people can be in denial about themselves. Of course, they're going to be. I have people asking me all the time, "Don't you think you have a coke problem?" I'd say no. I sell it, so I gotta try it before I sell it. Yeah, blah 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 blah. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep awake at the crazy hours they call me. I was in total denial, and then you have people around you who are also in denial. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they're bad or they did anything to look. whoever is watching this show right now, they are watching it. They are either already in recovery and they're rocking it, they're in recovery and they're kind of struggling with it, or they are suffering in silence and they stumbled on this because they want to get clean. But people in your brother's state would have never turned this on. They kept
Yeah.
moving right past it.
Yeah.
So you have to want it. And no matter what you do, then you're just the asshole. And that causes even a greater rift in your family because now he's lashing out about you to
Yeah.
anybody who will listen, trying to get sympathy. I mean, what can you do? You got to know that you have to let this go. It's not on you.
Yeah. I think that's why I was so excited to do this show with you, is because I don't give a fuck who you are. It's That's the fucking true challenge right there. Is how do you let the love of a brother go?
You don't. You don't let that part go. You got to just separate yourself from the negative emotions you're feeling. If you feel like you need to forgive yourself, then you need to do that. But it sounds to me like you more need to forgive him.
And it's hard because I'm so fucking mad at him still, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was gonna try. I promised myself that I wouldn't fucking I was gonna be strong today and not cry about it. But
Yeah, but fuck that. What do they say? Crying is just pain escaping your body. Let it go.
yeah.
Let it go. I mean, I have my sister right now, the one who's going to be taking over this show. And brother, we got a bad fucking past when it comes down to drug and alcohol use. The only thing I ever say positive, about myself when I was in my active addiction was my addiction didn't really reach out and touch anybody else in my life besides Chris, who was watching me circle the drain. So you and then your family, of course, who knows you're selling, and they feel stress over that. But I never robbed anybody. I never manipulated or guilt tripped. I never tried to find easy ways to get to my pills. My sister, however, she went the bad road with the bad drugs and the way over drinking, and I spent a lot of years with a lot of anger. And when I finally decided to send for her and bring her to Florida to get her out of her meth houses she was living in Pennsylvania, it's been a bit of an overcoming. But I had to take that shit. That's still fresh. Like we haven't even sorted any of that out. But I feel like to us, we feel like we don't need to. We've both been addicts. We both kind of know what it was like for the other one. I mean, and I think for the most part, I've managed to let it go, and so is she. The very reason she's not with us right now is she is answering for something that she did during addiction right now, and it'll be answered for here in a couple of days. She'll be back here. She'll be taking on the host duties of this show, and it's important because she's been through this battle so many times and gone through recovery and being I am 5,000% into recovery now. But that always burns out, I think, when people go too hard towards recovery and meetings and all that, and constantly judging yourself and the things that you've done and the mistakes you feel like you've made. But a part of recovery is learning how to let all that go. And all you've done is compartmentalize it. And that doesn't help because you're still carrying the bags.
Yeah. And I know that.
Fuck
You
yeah,
know,
dude.
that's the hard part, is because, you know, I have I have such fond memories of my brother, yet the last memories I have of him is him blaming me. Is, yeah, well, what about you, motherfucker? What
But
about
that wasn't him. Not
No, I
anymore.
know that. I get that. It's just it's hard to, when the voice that's ringing in your head is the one of, the last his last swim in denial, and that's not a river in Egypt. His last moment of him, not accepting the fact that this was going to kill him, and then it killed him. You know, and
Your river in Egypt. Somebody when I was in rehab used to say The Miss Me Sippy. I don't want to hear your bullshit. Miss me. Go take a go take a swim across the Miss Mississippi. Get the fuck up out of here. I love that
Yes.
counselor. She didn't take no shit. She wasn't gonna listen to you try to divert blame. She'll end
Yeah.
the session and kick you out.
Yeah. And that's the part that was so funny. And it's funny because it wasn't just one of my brothers. It was the two brothers that were closest to me that I loved the most. That in the end were the ones that were the hardest on me because they, it's like the old adage says, you're always shittiest to your family because they're going to come back to you. And they knew this baby brother would always fucking be there and would always love them no matter what. But by the end of their fucking lives, they were both being so shitty, and their addiction gave them permission to say
Right.
and do what they wanted to me. And so that's the legacy they left me. Instead of the great things of, the love of automobiles and coming from the muscle car era, and the times my brother, drove to Minnesota to watch me fucking wrestle, and all those things that matter to you, get fucking destroyed because when addicts, that's my hope. What people listening to this go, fuck, man, I'm dealing with that too. Whether you're a family member or the addict, that's watching this, that hopefully that they can ID, that and go, oh my God, man, I'm really not alone. And we all know that. We all say that's a cliche as hell because there's so many addicts out there, but
Well,
it's a
and
fucking,
also another thing is when the jig is up, that's when changes start happening. So, like you say, I should have gone and confronted my brother. It wouldn't have done you any good. It would have to you, but to people watching, if you're dealing with that in your family and you bring it up to them, like it's not just me who knows. We all know.
yeah,
We all know, and they're going to get mad. They're going to call you names. They're going to get
yeah,
defensive. You're never going to hear from me again. Any kind of an emotional string they can tug on. But once they know the jig is up, I promise you, they are going to start having their own moments of clarity every day. Problem is, most addicts have their moments of clarity. Well, I'll listen next time. I got coke to do right now. And you just do your way through it. But my moment of clarity came when I suffered my losses and I realized I just wasn't prepared to give anymore to my drug. I was all done. That was I got motivated to get clean. I listened to a moment of clarity. Family has to keep their ears open. They got to listen for the language that, ooh, they are having a moment of clarity. Now we got to nurture this the fuck along. But if at first you do got to go at them a little bit hard. I mean, I hate
yeah,
to say intervention style, but you kind of they've got to be made aware that the jig is up. You ain't fooling anybody. You think you are because junkies think they can outsmart everybody. I did. I thought I just had it going on over everybody. Ain't no shit. And everybody knew. When you're
yeah,
sitting there wagging your jaw and itching your nose all day long and your eyes are red and tearing, obviously you're fucking high.
yeah.
When
And you,
somebody's in a chair and they keep doing this, like Trump, they're not just old and feeble like Trump. No, they're nodding out. And nodding
yeah,
out is your first sign. I'm
yeah,
just tired. Can't I be tired? Yeah,
yeah,
go on home and be tired. I know what the fuck's going on.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And in my case, and this is the sad and dangerous part of it, you hope it's before it's too late. You hope that you can somehow make that intervention before it's too late. But then there are times when, like you said, nothing I could have said or done, nothing would have changed because I did try. But the retaliation is all I can remember because he was so fucking brutal back to me that by the time he's done talking to me, it's me that's going, fuck, man, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm the problem. It's that they're people that are in that situation are awful goddamn good at, they're geniuses at fucking making everybody else but themselves feel bad about their addiction.
Sure, if you allow it and you allowed it and you knew what was happening when it was happening,
Yeah.
and the only reason you're still holding on to that, cause like if he lived, let's say he was even still alive and still using, you hadn't broken through to him yet. If he lived, you wouldn't have memory banked that last bad conversation forever and let it override everything else. Fuck that last bad conversation. That guy wasn't your brother anymore.
Yeah.
That was just some asshole talking shit to you. Fuck
Yeah.
him. Your brother, those good memories, that's your brother. That's what
Yeah.
you need to hang on to. And like I tell people who've lost family all the time, don't just internalize that pain and let it sit and fester. Use it. You can help people. You
Yeah.
can help people. And by helping others selfishly, you are helping yourself.
And that's why I'm here, because
Oh, yeah.
I do want to help, because I do know what it feels like. You know, you and I. That's why we're here. That's why we're taking a fucking hour out of our Sunday and are willing to do that. I'm willing to do this for the rest of my fucking life. So people can call and say, hey, what can I do? Here's what I'm dealing with. Have a shoulder to cry on. Have somebody to go, wow, these motherfuckers do know what they're talking about. They're not just, clinical psychologists trying to make a buck by fucking putting me through, a program that I don't necessarily give a fuck about. These guys are willing to really listen because they really know. And I'm not proud of that. It just happens to be what goes along with the pain of dealing with somebody that you love very, very much to die
And
over something
on
that
that same note, then I would put out the encouragement to everybody's family, and this will probably strike a nerve with you too. If I told you, call the cops on your brother, do it
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
You do it. If you have your son, your brother, your daughter, whatever, whoever the fuck it is, your mom, if you know they're using and you know they have narcotics in their presence, call the fucking cops because they'll be pissed off at you. Of course they will. And the judge will put them into rehab. Are they going to be mad at you for that? Of course they will. But when you're sitting in rehab and you can't possibly get your hands on your narcotics, and the level of meetings and therapies and all that physical everything that they make you go through in rehab to get yourself back in alignment, they are going to have those moments of clarity. They are going to start thinking you did put me in here, and I'm starting to understand now why you did. That doesn't mean they're not going to get out of rehab and go right back to business as usual, but they are going to have a forced moment of clarity. Well, I'm afraid to come back because you might call the cops. You should be, because I will.
yeah,
You're not there to be their friend at this point.
yeah. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Being somebody's friend that's in this situation is the level of betrayal, so to speak. It's just fucking honor amongst thieves bullshit code. But he's my brother. If I should have marched forward really fucking hard. I should have called his family. I should have, talked to his wife wouldn't have helped because she was an
If
addict
she
too.
was in, yeah.
Yeah, so she would have been afraid that the jig was up on her. So but that doesn't mean that the other side is what you're saying needs to make sense to people, because if you don't do it, you're gonna look, you're gonna be on a show like this blubbering about what you coulda, shoulda, wouldas that you didn't fucking do because you didn't try. Don't. That's far fucking worse than your brother hating you, because if your brother hates you, at least he's fucking still alive to hate you. You know, and that's the part that you have to kind of accept that, okay, yeah, you're going to feel the ramifications, but at least you can call him on the phone so he can cuss at you, over the phone or on a video conference call, you know?
Get a shitty email at least or a text.
Right. That's the part I can never do again. And that's what breaks my fucking heart. Looking back in retrospect, like you said, I wished I would have just called him and gone, you're a fucking asshole. Now wake the fuck up. And if I have to, I'm gonna drive there and kick your ass and take you to fucking rehab right fucking now. But I didn't. I did confront him really hardcore, but he just lied his way out of it and justified it and promptly fucking, you know, hit the fucking fentanyl the next day like it was, Kool-Aid, and it killed him.
And if it helps you, like doing this show does help. It helps a lot
Yeah,
of people to
it
the
does.
point where, and I'm not gonna say his name, but one of the boys from TV called me after seeing one of these shows. Called me and he said, "Rob, I am liquefying my painkillers and injecting them. Where can I go? What can I do?" So I spent about 2 hours on the phone with him. We met up the next day, just talked about everything that he does, and I kind of led him towards his own realization of rehab would help me. And then I drove him to fucking rehab. And that was all from watching a podcast. Somebody who needed the help reached out and asked for help. And I swore to him, I'll tell this story, but I'll never say your name to anybody. And he was very grateful for that. But it does help. So look, people, like let's kind of wrap this thing up with some inspiration here, because like I say every single week, you're sitting at home and you're just punishing yourself, and my family will never forgive me, and blah blah. And that's just a bunch of bullshit, because they are going to forgive you. They want to forgive you. They do want to forgive you. You just got to show them that you really want it. And what's it going to take? What's important to you besides the drug? Who's important to you besides your dealer? Right? What makes it worth it for you to live and to prosper and to be happy? For Christ's sakes, man, I was about to go to prison for 20 fucking years right before I pulled my head right out of the cocaine dealer's ass and got back on the right track. And now I take care of my mom full time. I work in the finance industry. I own a podcast network. There is so much better waiting for you after you get off this ride. And when you're off this ride, you could take all those pains and horrors and all this shit that has happened to you because of other people taking advantage of you, because of you manipulating, because somebody caught you and kicked the shit out of you, for whatever reason, right? Just take those experiences and pay them forward, because what hurt you can help others.
Yeah, that's very true.
Hell yeah. That's why I love this fucking show, man.
Me
People,
too.
there's,
Like
and
I said,
I've had other people send me just emails. I really liked your show. Oh God, dude. I had a grandmother send me an email on when Hope was only audio. Casanova was my first guest on this show because he knows about codependence, and because his father was an alcoholic, bad, made his life miserable. So we kind of went over just what codependency is about. And it wasn't a week later, I got an email from a woman who said, I heard your podcast and I got my granddaughter in the car. We were on our way for a ride. I just played your podcast for her. And today she's in rehab. What?
that's all.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, no shit. That's just it. If being honest and rehashing the pain and talking about this saves one person's life, it's all worth it.
Oh, yeah. I think, Max, with that one, we're going to go ahead and take it home. Like always, everybody, like always, if nobody has told you today, I love you, you are worth it, and you do deserve it. Till next week, guys. Max, thanks for hanging out with me again this week. We'll see you.